Hello and welcome back. My name is Olive and this class is going to be an Ashtanga or modified Ashtanga sequence. Obviously we don't have time to do the full series, which can take up to an hour and a half, so this is kind of a reduced version of it. What you're going to need in terms of equipment is your yoga mat, maybe a block as well, just in case you want to use it when we come to do certain poses. But we're going to start at the top of our mat and work our way through some sun salutations to start with, so I will see you there. Starting at the top of your mat in mountain pose, we're just going to go through 2 rounds of sun salutations, so one of A followed by one of B. So equal standing between the feet, neutral spine, taking an inhalation, draw the hands above the head. Exhalation to fold yourself forwards, bend the knees if you need, hands down. Inhale to halfway lift, hands to the shins, straighten up the back, brace through the core. Then exhale, hands come back down to the ground, stepping back to your plank position. So inhale to prepare, exhale to lower down, either with the knees or without. Inhale, lift the chest, squeeze the glutes. Exhale, downward dog for 5 breaths. So feel free to start engaging a little bit deeper with your Ujjayi breath if that's something that you practice. Otherwise, just make sure you have a nice, regular, controlled breathing pattern throughout class. Gonna go for one more breath here. Next, inhale to look between the hands, step or jump to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale to fold yourself forwards, look behind you. Inhale, push through the feet, draw the hands up, squeezing and engaging the glutes and the core. Exhale to release. Samasthiti. Cool, we're going to go into one round of B. So taking your feet again, hip distance apart. Inhale to bend the knees, hinge at the hips, draw the hands above the head, chair pose. Exhale, folding yourself forwards. Inhale to halfway lift, looking in front. Exhale, hands down, stepping back to your plank. So inhale to brace, exhale to lower down with or without the knees. Inhale to lift the chest, push the feet to the floor, squeeze the butt. Exhaling into downward facing dog. So warrior 1, right side first. The right foot steps in between the hands, ground down through the foot. And as you slowly start to rise up, drop the left heel. So the back foot is angled to 45 degrees. Or somewhere towards the top corner of your mat to the left hand side. One more breath here. When you're ready, plant those hands down, step back, inhale to brace, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Exhale into downward facing dog. Left side for warrior 1, left foot steps forwards. Slowly ground down, bring the hands above the head, drop and turn the back foot to face the right corner of the mat. Obviously, if the heel is off the ground, that's not a problem. If you find more comfort doing high lunge instead, go for that. When you're ready, plant the hands, stepping back to plank. Inhale, prep, exhale to lower down. Inhale to lift the chest, and exhale, return. Downward facing dog. So again, 5 breaths here. Obviously, as we go throughout class and we do these vinyasas, please feel free to modify and change up the poses that suit you as we go throughout. Good, let's go for one more breath here. Next, inhale, look between the hands, step or jump to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, bend those knees, hinge at the hips, draw the hands up. And exhaling to release. Samasthiti. Lovely. So first pose. Hands come onto your hips. You're going to hop your feet about hip distance apart. We're coming into a forward fold where we're looping the index and middle finger around our big toe. So inhale, fill up the lungs with air. Try to find a neutral position in the spine. Exhale, you're going to start to hinge forwards. Try to go with a flat back. So we create some activation through the hamstrings. We begin to fold. We come to our point, we pause. Now from here, look down to the feet, bend the knees if you need in order to loop the finger, index and middle, around the big toe. You're going to inhale to look forwards, fill the lungs with air. And then on the exhale, start to bend those elbows, start to send them out to either side of your mat. As you fold forwards, your gaze slowly shifts to go behind you. So in Ashtanga, we hold for 5 breaths in each pose. So take your time to come into your depth that you can control, that you're not forcing, and that you're getting there with your breathing. So make sure you're putting weight into the heels and the toes. You're actively trying to engage your thighs and your glutes. One more breath here. And then inhale, start to straighten up those arms, looking in front. Hands come onto the hips. Squeeze the glutes and take your time to come all the way up through to standing. From here, taking quite a big step back with the right leg, turning all 10 toes to face the long edge of your mat. So we're coming into extended triangle pose. So a little bit wider than a leg between your feet. Turning the right toes towards the back. When you're ready, bend into that right knee. Open out the hands so we briefly enter into warrior 2. From here, right elbow, right forearm is going to go on top of that right knee. Left hand is going to sweep down the body and the fingertips open up above our head. So shoulder is connecting to the ear. We're creating external rotation from this top shoulder to our hip. And try with the hand, even though it looks a little bit fancy, there is a purpose. Create a wrap where the pinky is on the inside, thumb is on top. So your shoulder is more into internal rotation, scapula is sitting more safely. Cool, so with all that talk, let's take 2 more breaths here. Feel free to explore with the hand towards the ground. 1 more breath. Exhale to look down at the right leg, push yourself all the way back up, opening up to face the long edge of your mat. To the left side, left toes turn forwards, bend the knee, left forearm down, right hand sweeps, internal rotation opening up through the hip. Again, feel free to experiment taking the hand to the ground or maybe on a block, but make sure there's weight into the back leg. And we're trying to lengthen through the right side of the body. Let's go for 1 more breath here. Exhale, look down at the left foot. Inhale, push, come all the way up, opening to face the long edge of the mat. Lovely. From here, right toes turn forwards. We're going to spin into high lunge first of all. So as the left hand picks down the body, pick up the left foot, come into high lunge, bending into the front leg. Slowly let your left knee come to the floor. Hands are going to go to your heart. Inhaling here. Exhale completely, try to empty the lungs. Then at the end of the exhale, rotate towards the right hand side first. Keeping the hips stable, engaging the glutes. Now when you're ready, take left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Coming into the twist with control, off the breath. Not losing it, just for the sake of getting to a certain depth in the pose. So staying here, try to almost increase a little bit of pressure between the left elbow and the right knee, so there's some engagement for the muscles in the leg and the muscles in the upper body. 1 more breath here. Then inhale, slowly coming all the way back up to low lunge. Push through the back leg, lift the knee, open out to face the long edge of your mat, and then left toes forwards, right hand again scoops up the right ankle. Let that knee come down to the floor. Hands drop back down to heart center. So inhaling here again, create length. Exhale, completely empty the lungs. Then twisting towards the left hand side. When you've found that twist, take the elbow to the outside of the knee. And see if we can again create that resistance. The glutes are switched on, they're stabilizing the body. The knees and both legs are staying still. We're maintaining the breath to perhaps go a little bit deeper if we like, or to maintain the integrity of the pose. 1 more breath here. And then inhale, release, come back up, low lunge. Push through the feet, open the toes to face the long edge of the mat before opening out the hands. So wide-legged forward fold. We take an inhale here. On the exhale, start to press the hips behind you. Come to fold to about 90 degrees. Back is nice and flat. Remember, knees can bend if you like. So looking forwards, And then when you're ready, hands come down to the floor. Where the fingertips are further in front in line with the shoulders, or they're further back in line with the toes. Regardless, we inhale, look forwards, fill the lungs. On the exhale, bend those elbows, encourage a chin to the chest, looking behind you. Put weight into the toes, into the heels, engage the glutes, engage the quads. And if you practice tripod headstand, feel free to transition up into it, whatever feels comfortable. But again, try to engage the muscles on the inner and the outer thigh. We're going to take one more breath like this. Then inhale to straighten up, looking forwards. Hands come to your hips, squeeze the glutes, slowly rising all the way up to standing. When you're ready, left toes turn forward, step in with the right leg, arrive, Samasthiti. Going to go through a little vinyasa just to reset. Come back to our breath. So inhale, hands go up. Exhale, folding forwards. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, back to plank. So inhale, prep. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale, down dog. So again, a little chance for you to check in with your breathing. Check that it's still active. That it's not shallow breath, that we're focusing on the quality of the inhale and the exhale. One more breath here. Next inhale, looking forward, stepping or jumping, halfway lift, arrive back to the top. Exhale to fold. Inhale, push through the feet, draw the hands up and above the head. Exhale, release to Samasthiti. Cool. Coming into some of our balances, we're going to turn to face the camera. Feet are again about hip distance apart. You're going to inhale, start to slowly ground down through the left leg. So I mean the toes, the balls of the foot and the heel. Inhale, draw the right knee up, sort of drawing it parallel to that hip. Now from here we have two options, either holding that knee with the right hand or taking the index and middle finger off the right hand and looping it around the toe. If we're coming to the loop, we take an inhale, and then on the exhale decide if we want to slowly start to extend that leg away as much as we can whilst maintaining shoulders over the hips. Again, if we're just holding that knee, that is absolutely fine. See whatever feels better. Again, with this trick of resistance, try to pull the toe with the fingers, push the toe into the fingers, create that strength. I'm going to take one more breath like this. And on your next exhalation, regardless of where we are, we're going to slowly start to open up that right leg towards the right hand side. So again, if I'm holding the toe like this, or if it's bent, or maybe holding the knee. So find your positioning here, engaging the glutes. Try to still have the hips facing forwards. And if you feel comfortable and you want to change up where you're looking, maybe you slowly look over the left shoulder. Don't worry about falling out of the balances, just take your time to come back. We're going to take one more breath. Then again, regardless of where we are, bring that knee coming back to face forwards. Both hands come to your hips. You're going to point and extend that leg in front of you, holding as high as it can be. Don't worry if it shakes, don't worry if it drops down. Use the core, use the hip flexors. One more breath. And then we're going to land to chair pose. So plant that right foot, bend the knees, hands come up above the head. 5 breaths here. So really try to engage the glutes, push the big toes to the floor, bracing through the core to protect and support the spine. Breath, focusing here. One more breath. And then exhale, fold yourself forwards. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down back to your plank. Inhale, prepare. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to lift, push the feet to the floor, squeeze the butt. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a moment here, have a little wriggle, have a little jiggle. Move through the head. Check in with the breath before we come to the left hand side. Cool. Inhale to look forward, step or jump to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, circle both hands up. And exhale, release. Samasthiti. Let's come to the left side. So, spread the toes on the right leg. Really try to ground down. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lifting left knee up first of all. Again, feel free to stay here to hold the knee, or index and middle finger around the big toe. Decide how much you want to start to straighten that leg up. Try to keep shoulders on top of the hips and try to avoid this like twisting, this rotation. We want to keep our thoracic spine braced and neutral facing forwards. And again, if you fall out, don't worry. One more breath here. Then on the exhale, slowly start to open up towards the left-hand side, whether we have the bind around the big toe or we're bending and holding the knee. So hopefully with my side profile, you'll notice that both of my hips are still facing forwards. I'm not creating a twist just for the sake of opening out my left leg even further to the side. So maintain the integrity of the pose. Don't just think by going deeper, we're going to get more benefits. One more breath. And then slowly draw that leg forwards, both hands to the hips. The leg is straight, we're pointing the leg, trying to engage through the hip flexors. Breathing, still working to find stability in the right leg. One more breath. And then lower down, release to chair pose. Bend both knees, hands come up above the head. Go as low or as high as you would like. Change up the position in the hands, it doesn't matter. Finding that activation into the whole of the body. One more breath. And then exhale, folding yourself forwards. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, back to plank. Inhale, prep. Exhale, knees, whole body to the floor. Inhale to lift. And then exhale, back into downward facing dog. So taking 5 breaths here before we start to come down into some floor work. Making sure you're still pushing through the hands, so the shoulders are being supported by all the surrounding muscles. Cool. So we're going to come down to seated, whether you want to step down to a cross-legged position, or you want to do the little jump or the little float through. If we're doing the jump, inhale to come up onto the tiptoes. Bend the knees to load the legs. Look forwards to where we're going to land. Hop the hips, land across. Release both legs out in front of you. Cool. So let's come into Dandasana, a little preparatory for our forward folds. Super active pose. You're going to take your hands by your side, roll the shoulders back and down so everything's in neutral. Shoulders are directly over the wrists. From here, you're going to squeeze the muscles in your upper back so you lift the hands off the ground. So everything is super engaged. You're then going to start to draw the toes back towards you and lift the heels off the ground as much as possible by engaging the quads. Chin now drops to the chest, keeping the core braced so the body is stable, it's active. So we're just trying to use all the muscles that are going to be used in our forward fold when we approach it more passively. One more breath here. And then slowly, slowly releasing everything. You're going to drag both heels in and take that same grip that we did when we did our standing forward fold. So index and middle finger, wrap around the big toe, thumb comes on top. Inhale to try find length. Exhale, slowly, slowly start to drive the heels away, coming into your forward fold with a nice, slow, mindful approach. So only start to straighten up the legs as much as you are comfortable with. Pause when you reach your max. When you come to your max, focus in on the breath, nice and controlled. And again, coming back to those muscles that we looked at previously. The quads, super active. The muscles in the upper back switched on. Breath is controlled. Determine whether it feels better to look forwards or drop the chin to the chest. Going to be here for a little bit longer than the rest of our poses. Let's take one more breath. And then inhale, start to look up, release the hands. Release the legs completely straight. Hands are going to go behind you. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, start to lift the chest. Two options. We can either do this pose with the legs straight or legs bent. So bent leg option, feet are hip distance apart. We squeeze to lift the glutes as high as we want to go. If we're doing the straight leg option, toes are pointed, we squeeze and lift. Whatever feels best, come into that entry. And then when you're there, think about switching on the hamstrings, the glutes. Bracing through the core, pushing through the hands, supporting the shoulders, and maybe slowly releasing the head to look behind you. Again, choose whichever pose feels more stable and more secure for your body, where you can keep regularity of the breath. Let's go for one more breath here. And then slowly draw the chin back to the chest, let the bum lower down to the ground, release the feet in front of you, give them a little bit of a shake, give the wrists a shake too. Cool. Taking the right foot to the inside of the left thigh, coming into Janushasana. Feel free to place a pillow or a block underneath the right knee. But we take an inhale, draw the hands above the head, and exhale, start to slowly reach forwards for the left leg, not touching it just yet. So again, try to engage the muscles, bracing through the core, try to drive the left heel into the ground so the hamstrings switch on to activate. We're controlling our depth. One more breath. Then let the hands land wherever. Gently encourage your chin down or stay looking forwards. So as we come to this depth, try to maintain that left leg hamstring activation, as well as looking at our right hip. Even if your right knee is touching the floor, try to drive it into the ground so you get glute activation and abductor activation, so inner outer thigh. So it's a little bit safer for the hip because the muscles are supporting it. One more breath. Then inhale, looking forwards, release the hands from their grip, start to slowly lift up and above the head. Releasing everything, give the legs a shake and we'll swap sides. So, left foot comes to the inside of the right thigh. Again, inhale, circle those hands up. Exhale to slowly start to reach forwards. Drive the right heel into the ground, switch on that hamstring. One more breath like this. Then release the hands wherever, come to the forward fold on this side, remembering about driving that left knee towards the ground. Breathing all the way down the spine. Can we still find engagement into that right hamstring? One more breath here. Then again, inhale, lifting the chest, looking forwards, release the hands up and above the head. And then straightening up those legs, giving them a little bit of a shakeout. Lovely. So from here, coming into Marichyasana, a nice twisting pose. Pick up the right leg, come into a bend. You're going to have about a hand's distance between the foot and between the knee. From here, we're going to start by holding the right knee with the left hand. Right hand is going to go behind us, fingertips turned away, and we're supporting our torso by pressing into that hand. So first of all, inhale to fill the lungs. Exhale completely to empty the lungs. Then come to the twist, twisting to the right hand side. So as we're in this twist, again, we take our time to perhaps move deeper if the breath allows. Feel free to change up the position of the left hand. It can come down to hold the thigh, more internal rotation for the shoulder, or the elbow can press against the knee, more external or neutral position for the shoulder. Whatever feels comfortable, but remember about the integrity of the pose. So engaging that left leg, toes are pointed towards you, constantly pressing into the right hand and breathing into the space where it's available. So mainly into the chest and the back right now. One more breath here. And then slowly release, circle forwards, release the right leg, draw the left foot in. Again, about a hand's distance apart. Right hand holds that knee. Left hand goes behind, press into it. Inhale as we look forwards. Exhale completely. Then start to twist towards the left hand side, nice and controlled. Use the core muscles to bring you a little bit deeper. Don't just wrench yourself further into the pose with the hand. Elbow comes down if you need. Remembering about our breath. And slowly encourage the chest to move first, then the head, then the eyes. One more breath here. And then slowly, slowly rotate, looking forwards. Release those hands, release the legs straight, give them a little shake out. So last one for our seated sequence. Draw the soles of the feet together, bring them into your body as close as possible. And from here you're going to drive and press the heels against one another. So again, we activate the muscles on the inner thigh. That way we have a little bit of a safer hip opener. So drive the heels, you're going to try open the feet like a book, squeeze the glutes and maybe encourage your knees a bit closer to the floor. From here we're going to take an inhalation. Exhale completely again. Just so we can take care of the inhale more. Now decide, two options. You can either fold with a straight back, aiming to get the chin down to the ground in front of you, or you can create more of a flexed spine. Rib cage draws towards the hips as you try to get the forehead down to the toes. Whatever feels more available to you, please go with that. And your hands can end up going anywhere, maybe in front, maybe holding the feet, maybe lightly pressing into the knees. We're going to take 2 more breaths here. Then inhale to slowly, slowly start to rise wherever we were. When we come back to a neutral spine, use the hands, lift up the legs, extend them out in front of you, give them a little shake. And then when you're ready, cross the feet in, plant those hands, step yourself back to plank. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, knees and whole body lowers. Inhale to lift. And then exhale, reverse. Down and facing dog. So let's come back to 5 breaths here before we come to our final sequence. Again, making sure we're pushing through those hands. Breathing into the whole body. Legs are bent if we need them to be. One more breath. And then when you're ready, prepare to come down to seated. Inhale to look between the hands up to the tiptoes. Bend those knees, lower the legs to jump yourself down. Release the feet in front of you. Cool. So we're going to bring ourselves down into some shoulder stand. If shoulder stand is something that's not currently in your practice, that's okay. I will give some alternatives. So alternatives, you can do legs up against the wall, where your butt is facing the wall, the legs go up against it. Another option is to have a bolster underneath your sacrum, your low back, where the legs are gently elevated. So come into that position if that's what you want for the alternative. Or for those who are practicing shoulder stand, take your time to slowly rock back. Use the momentum to lift the legs above the hips, supporting the body with the hands behind. So trying to point the toes, squeeze the glutes, engage the muscles on the inner thigh, and remember about the breath. Stay here for as long as you are comfortable with. Again, if you're doing legs up against the wall, or you're using a bolster, feel free to maybe move the legs around, create different shapes, move against gravity. Cool. If we're still in shoulder stand and you want to come into a different pose, we can come to plow. You slowly, slowly control the feet going behind your head. Maybe the toes land to the ground, maybe they're floating. Legs don't have to be straight, but once we touch down, we can release hands either side. Or the final pose you can explore is with your knees either side of your ears, you're breathing. Regardless of where we are, keep the breath strong, because they are quite intense poses for our breathing to get used to. So I've obviously come out of it, but you're going to be here for 2 more breaths. And whenever you're ready, start to slowly, slowly release, trying to roll down 1 vertebra at a time. Bring yourself away from the wall or away from the bolster if you're using that, before coming all the way back to seated. So, as our little counter pose, let's come to fish. Legs are extended in front of you. Try to point the toes, squeeze those legs together. Your hands, 2 options. Option 1, hands are going to be by your side. You're going to lower down onto your elbows, push into the elbows, open through the chest, and the head tilts behind you. Option 2 is with the hands underneath the bum. Again, push through the elbows, but this time as you expand out the chest, the head comes to the floor. So see whatever option suits you best. Obviously explore if you're unsure, but regardless of where we end up, we're breathing into the chest, into the whole front of the body, driving through those elbows so we get that constant support of the shoulders and this opening to the chest. Remember about the hips, try to keep the sitting bones onto the floor. One more breath here. And slowly bring the chin back to your chest. Push yourself all the way back to seated. And then we're going to come into our final pose. So either sitting cross-legged with one heel in front of the other. Feel free to sit on a block at this point. Or you can come into half lotus, where one foot sits in the hip crease, or full lotus, where the other foot matches up. Doesn't matter where we are, it's just whatever feels more natural. But the tops of our hands go to our knees. Roll the shoulders back down. And coming into a little bit of a mudra. So, energy seal. Take the thumb on top of the index finger. Try to flex through the remaining 3 fingers, shoulders and arms nice and straight. You're just going to gently drop your chin to the chest, eyes come to a close. And we're just going to do 8 rounds of calm, controlled breath. So just inhale and slowly exhale in and out through the nose. Try not to force inhalation or rush it. And similarly with the exhale, just let it be controlled and soft. Observing the movements in the body. As you breathe in stillness. Three more rounds of breath here. Keep the engagement in the hands and the arms. Last round of breath. And then slowly, as you bring the chin, the head back to neutral, release the hands, rub the palms together to build some heat. Hands go over the eyes and slowly reveal to blink them back open. And there we have it. That was our sort of super quick Ashtanga class. So I hope you enjoyed. Just before I close this session, we're going to do about 3 minutes of breath work. So we're going to work with, let's go for Nadi Shodhana. Super lovely pranayama practice to do. And pranayama generally comes after our asana practice. Once the physical body has sort of removed this idea of tension, we can then sit and observe the breath. So I'd like to invite you to grab a bolster, go sit on a chair, grab a block, whatever feels more comfortable. Just find yourself in a nice seat where you don't feel like your posture's gonna go super slumped for the next few minutes. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, we start with taking the thumb off, say, the right hand, blocking off the right nostril. We take an inhale through the left, and at the top of the inhale we block off both nostrils, holding for a little bit of a hold or retention, and then we exhale out of the right. Then we inhale through the right, hold for a second, and then release through the left. So it's this pattern of left, right, right, left. We're just going to continue this for, like I said, about 2 minutes or so. So get yourself comfortable, roll your shoulders back and down, have a last little wriggle. And then when you're ready, blocking off the right nostril with a right thumb. I'll guide for the first few rounds. So whenever you're ready, just inhale through the left. Close both nostrils, hold for a second. Exhale out of the right. Inhale right. Block off both nostrils, hold, and exhale left. I'll guide one more round. Inhale left. Block off both, hold, and exhale right. Inhale right. Block, hold, exhale left. Next few rounds at your own pace. Feel free to close your eyes. Try not to force the breath. Be patient with this practice. Don't rush it. And try not to get to the point where it feels too restricted. Just going to do 2 more rounds. After your next exhale out of the left nostril, just come back to normal breath for a moment. And then when you're ready, you can either take palms together at your heart or one hand on top of the other over your heart space. And just thank yourself for a moment, for moving, for exploring, and taking time to do some breath work, which is just as important as asana. Then when you're ready, rub the palms, feel the heat. Hands go over the eyes. Take yourself, or take your time to come back to your room. So thank you so much for practicing with me once again. Like I say, if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time.